Hey.
We exist.
We do.
We exist. I wonder how audible that is. People can tell us. If it doesn't bother me, I'm inclined to leave it. I am here today on this Intuitive Public TV, and I get to talk to Jacqueline Rendell.
And I get to talk to you.
I would like to convey to anyone watching, we might need to turn off the echo because my brain might fluker. We were going back and forth about whether to keep it or not.
Is it gone?
I think it's now not echoing. Thank you. Neurological things. This is a massive experiment because wow, that image really does look pretty good back there. I did that in like a minute.
Yeah, you nailed it.
It's
all sparkly like us.
I have all these notes. And I don't know if my eyeballs will be able to see any of them. Like maybe I'll be able to go into my notes for what I wanted to talk to you about, but maybe I won't. This whole thing, this is impossible. The circumstances that I'm navigating, the state of my body, it's impossible that we're doing this right now. And we're doing it anyway, because that's what we do around here. And one of the really amazing things about what has led to us having this conversation is that, Jacqueline, your work in public media, your work in music, your way of engaging with other people, your way of engaging with community, the ways that you began to engage with me, it's really murky, like where our conversations began, but I know that for me, they began when you expressed care for the situation that I was describing. And you did a thing that is very, very rare. When I said to people, hey, please check on me, because we're moving my head bones around and there's this serious long-term concussions, injuries situation. And my function, my survival, I really need people to care and check on me. And Jacqueline Rendell, I didn't know well. I had been following your work for a while. I had been sharing it. I had been celebrating. It was really cool. And then you started checking on me. People at our intersections, we can say that, but it's not necessarily that it's not necessarily something that people really connect to how to do it. And you just did it. And I think I even asked you like what that was about for you. You said, well, that's just me. That's just like how I am. And it's something that I want to discuss a lot more because a lot of people want to be able to do that and they don't know how. And there's something that flows from you about it. And there's so many other things for me to say, but I'm just going to pause and breathe for a second because wow, we got here.
I just started and you're already making me cry.
Ah!
Thank you for that. And yeah, wow.
It's really serious stuff that everybody is navigating increasingly. Even people who think they're not are like hanging on for dear life and they're trying to hide it. And they're dissociated from it. They're like, I'm fine. Everything's completely fine. Look how great things are. And they're not fine either. And at Intuitive Public Radio and Intuitive Public TV and the Intuitive Community Network, we find ourselves with the curious responsibility of speaking to what's happening to people in the most extreme circumstances of hardship, because if nobody talks about it, nobody can do anything about it. But then what we find is that hardship, it exists everywhere in very different ways that we have to actually dialogue about in order to have any chance of surviving, have any chance of addressing. And so we identify keys. We identify what are the most powerful approaches to actually being able to do something about all of this. Like, are we we're just going to die? We're going to give up? we're going to get flattened, or we're going to actually discover gifts we weren't aware of and possibilities we had never imagined, and then realize what we can do together. And one of those keys, here's something I wrote down. Where's my notes even at? Oh, I moved. Wait, that's not it. Uh-oh.
You've got time.
La, 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 la,
La
la,
la
la.
la la.
They're around here somewhere. Oh, there they are. Okay, I got them. This is so enjoyable for me, and there's been such a big question about whether I can even do this.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful that you're here. You first.
Me too. I'm so grateful that I'm here too. Because the craziest thing for me, and I want this to sound humble and kind, is that I'm just being me, and it's making a difference for you that I'm just getting up and being me, and it's the easiest thing to be. So doing this with you is giving my life purpose. It's like, there's nothing more to do than that. I'm making a difference for one other human being. That's good for me.
And something that I would like to highlight is when somebody does what you did, what you've been doing. People will check on us once, and then we'll never hear from them again, and we won't know if they're alive or if they remember what's happened. So it's pretty rare for people to continue in relationship with us. And when you continue in relationship with me individually, because I'm working in the intuitive network, those nutrients of expanded relationship are traveling through me into the network because it increases my function. I told you when we started this, Rhizomatic, exactly.
Rhizomatic, baby.
I told you when I invited you to do this in my like really long rambly text that I sent you, that I didn't know what I would be able to do, that my desire is to promote it, but my function is completely unknown. And as you just stayed with me, you continued to express your encouragement and your desire to do it and your value of the process of it. I got functions back. And here's another function. And here's another function. I thought, oh, I'll make one image. I'll do it. It'll be really hard. I'm going to get it. It's going to happen. I made one image and I managed one post. It was freaking impossible. My feet broke again. It was really horrible. And these really difficult things happening. I made the post. And then I made another post. And then I made a second image. Two.
Look at you go.
Two. Do you know why? Because of the ways that you have been showing up in relationship with me, actually caring for and respecting the circumstances that I'm navigating. I'll tell you, people don't know how to do that. They want to, but they get disoriented. They're not sure if it's okay. They're not sure if it's safe. There are a lot of reasons. By the way, I made a third image. And then, by the way, 2 minutes before we got on here, I made the fourth image right here.
You can't stop. You can't stop now.
You have a piano flourish that you want to sort of provide the emotional substrate for our conversation if you so desire. I'm very envious of your piano microphones that are right there. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. I need this for my sanity and my survival so that I can be here for you. I've figured that out. That's the beauty of aging, is that you really start to figure out what you need to actually show up and be there for other people. And if you don't have that, and I think that speaks to a lot of what you're saying about the disconnection, and things are breaking down because we're being made to look at this stuff. We've kind of kicked the can down the road for as much as we can and for as long as we can, and put it off with Band-Aids. But they only last so long, and we're really having to do that work now. And it was easy for me to be there for you because it's not to make it about me, but it is how I would want to be treated. You know, I want to have the sovereignty to be where I'm at and have that be okay.
Yeah.
It's a simple ask, but not with the wrong people around you, you know, and it's so easy. So I don't have the language to express that. I'm so honored that it means so much to you that I'm just engaging with you. And I can tell you the first time that the first time I was introduced to you was on Deemee's Starfire Codes Telegram channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know by what magic I discovered her, but you know, I had to hunt down kindred spirits really quickly when some stuff went down a couple years ago, and Telegram became my lifeline to communities and people out there, and I discovered that I was not alone. And Deemee's Telegram channel was one of those lifelines for me.
Yeah. For us too. Where what she has been focusing a lot of energy on is growing a certain kind of community where people can be themselves with one another.
Yeah.
And in ways that many of us in the network have found completely life-saving. I will at some point tell more of the stories of how we encountered the Starfire Codes and what that meant for us at that time. But yeah, it's been really amazing for more of us to find one another and be able to connect. And then so many different relationships grow out of there being a community hub, a hub of regenerative energy where people are encouraged to be who they need to be and do and say what they need to do and say, within realms of respect for one another and kindness towards one another. But then that provides a substrate where so many beautiful things can grow out of that, and it expands and it expands rhizomatically.
Absolutely.
Deemee has, I think, more than one good post about rhizomatic dynamics.
Yeah. And funny enough, it's spreading. I mean, it's all so meta. You know, the rhizomatic concept is spreading rhizomatically.
I'm putting your link up here. I'm going to put Deemee's up too. Is that going to work? Gosh, it's been a while since I used this thing.
You got it. You got this.
Oh, now it's beach balling.
What does that mean?
On a Mac computer, there's but then it stopped. Thanks to Deemee is at starfirecodes.com. I'm right about that, right? I must be right about that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Do. Is it loading? Yes, it is. Da-da-dum. So on StreamYard, we don't know what we need to turn off so that we could like make music together like right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can work towards that.
We can work towards that. Exciting. That's one of my reasons for being alive.
Yeah. Well,
finding ways to do that.
I did click on your Telegram the other day, which I didn't know you had one. So I joined and I saw you playing some piano.
Oh, what did you find? Did you find Maximo Radio or Intuitive Public on
Intuitive Public on Telegram? And you were singing so beautifully.
Did you see? Was it the Candle on the Water?
Yes.
Or was it something else?
No, it was that.
Candle on the Water. That's from, well, I know it from Pete's Dragon. That's how I learned it. And Helen Reddy sings it. And I didn't, I want to have put credits there, like, because I didn't write it.
Yeah.
But I didn't manage to do that. That was a huge part of my rehab adventuring in circumstances where no rehab support was accessible. And we found, I don't even know how my mother works miracles. My mother found a $200 1927 Hardman grand piano, and somehow got it into the living room of the house that we got into. And a major process for me, a major miracle for me, was being able to eke out just like the basic notes, like some of those chords, and then be able to sing it while I was doing it. And I mean, almost immediately I lost those functions again. But
Wow.
some of it sticks. Even when you're getting wiped out over and over and over again, some of it will stay. And what stays is the relationship with having created the music or poetry or creative thing of some kind to share with others. And that's why Intuitive Public Radio exists, because we have to share creatively with others in growing relationship in order to repair the relational neurological injury that everybody has if they have trauma. It damages relationship and it damages the verbal parts of the brain. And if we don't restore those first, all kinds of other things you try to rehabilitate won't work at all. So many people are trying to recover from really terrible conditions and injuries. And this thing's not working, and this thing's not working, and this thing's not working. And what's missing across the board is there a community body that we can be safe with, that we can express ourselves the way we need to, that we can sing something that's meaningful to us, and you know, hopefully somebody won't come after us with a copyright thing because we're too disabled to know how to navigate that. We just need to be able to sing the songs that are meaningful to us in our lives. That one from, I mean, I don't know how old I was when that came out. It was the early 80s when Pete's Dragon came out.
Yes.
That song has been in my world, my whole life.
Wow.
And I was terrified to post that, but I managed it, because if I didn't sing and share with others, I couldn't get the functions of my brain and my whole body back online.
Wow.
And so talking with you, and you just like you've been, I mean, this doesn't mean that you would be able to be responsive in every situation. And you might, like, maybe you would stop being able to because of whatever circumstances you're in. So I'm not suggesting that it like has to go on exactly like this all the time, but the amount that you've done it, and the fact that it has, you've demonstrated that it matters to you ongoing, that's this amazing life spark that repairs people's bodies because of the relationship that's growing. And you've been doing that in a way that I sensed that you knew a lot about how important that is inherently. But I thought, I don't know that she knows when people are at these most extreme intersections, people are being targeted by criminal perpetrators. People are experiencing physical violence, sexual violence. People are navigating through horrific illness that utterly silences them, that traps them in rooms. People are houseless. People are, like, we can go down the list. There's so many things. And at the maybe upper levels of severe experiencing, like, people are like, oh yeah, like, we got to be there for one another. But I wanted to tell you in this public broadcast so many more people can start to get it. The people in the very most severe, most terrorizing situations, the people being held on the cusp of death, they need community. They need people saying, hey, I care about you. How are you doing today? Want to make some music together. And that's what we do here. And I'm so grateful that you're here with us.
It's amazing.
I had something in my notes. I'm going to read this thing to you from my notes. It says, first, I've got to apologize to you because I'm about to make you sit here for some amount of time while I give you compliments in public. I'm sorry, there's just no other way.
Apology accepted.
So that's some of the territory we're dealing with. And that's how powerful it is that, like, that was just a part of you and you just showed up the way you were. But we got to know it's love and warriorship. And this is something else that is a key for us that we've found in your work and in your music. We've been noticing, like, who does this, like, who recognizes this? And you've been a powerful example for us in that. We have to show up with the joy. We have to show up with the beautiful dream.
Yeah.
And we have to tell the truth.
Yeah.
about what's happening. We can't shirk from the truth because we want everything to be beautiful all the time. And if we don't share the joy and the beauty, we can lose our compass for how to survive it. We have to have both the love and the warriorship. And wow, does that come through in your music? I've been listening to replays from the live from the Nest broadcasts that you did all morning. They're so good.
Thank you. Those scare the crap out of me to do those. But that's why I do them, because it's me on my edge. It's really pushing my comfort zone into new places. And it's me learning. Again, it's me knowing more about myself and what I'm capable of. And I've spent, my amount of suffering does not come near to anything that you just described. But I have had my own story of pain and hiding and not good enough to be seen,
Yeah.
And I'm coming out of that. It's like, I'm so done with that. I'm done with the stories that I believed enough to, have them guide me, my choices. And people like you and people like Demi, and connecting and coming out of my shell and sharing, I'm happy to be a hermit and make music and for my own pleasure.
Yeah.
But I am committed now to sharing and coming out of hiding. And what has happened to me since joining Substack, even in October, it's beyond, it's okay. So what I wanted to say when you were talking about truth is beautiful because it gives us clarity that we need, and awareness and clarity is access to aligning with nature, source. There's a power in that clarity and awareness that taps us into something that is the reward for being truthful and being brave. And it's like I have this image all the time of, it's painful to take off a layer of yourself and to be vulnerable, but you're rewarded immediately for doing it. And it's only painful for a second. It's like you're going through a thicket and then you're in an eternal meadow, and
Yeah.
I've just lived my life really loving the flavor of stripping off another layer. I love truth. It can be raw and painful, but it's streamlining your comet, and you just
Yeah.
and it connects you with other people who are playing the game the same way, and that's another way it becomes magical. You just start really tapping into something you can't access in any other way. And I write about that because that's what I don't want to be yelling with a placard. I don't have an ounce of a victim mentality in me. So that's not my way to make a difference.
Yeah.
I want to package up a message for how I've been talking to myself and how I've gotten here, and share that that's an option with people.
Yeah.
And that's what really motivates my lyric writing.
And some of the ways that you express that from where you are really directly relevant to people in the worst of circumstances. You had I don't know where it was, but it was one of these key moments for me. You were describing choosing to show up and how much courage that takes.
Yeah.
How difficult that can be. It can be impossible. You don't have to be experiencing the worst of severe physical circumstances in order for that to feel really impossible. And the warriorship that overcomes that presses just over the edge and then you're doing it. That is something that we have to center in the Intuitive Network to help people who have lost everything, people who don't know what functions they'll have on a moment-to-moment basis choose to express themselves in a courageous way, something that starts to give them more of an audible voice, more of a visible platform, if that's right for them at that time, it can feel like you come up against it, you can't do it, but it makes such an enormous difference when there are others around us talking about their experiences of it. And a key thing is, are any of these people talking to us? And most of the time, the answer is no, because it's so difficult for us to reach. But when occasionally the answer is yes, that flows this energy through the network, because this person knows this person and this person knows this person. And Megan Elizabeth is talking to Jacqueline Rendell, and Jacqueline Rendell is publishing this and making this music and writing this and, showing up in these ways and different, video interviews and stuff like that. Knowing one another, or knowing one another knows one another.
Yeah.
It's really huge, because at our intersections, there's a lot of heavy establishment violence creating this veil, and we're beyond the veil. We're not understood. We're not recognized unless we show up in a certain way. And so we're doing all this public media so that people will see something. But then we've got to help people realize, oh, it's these people making this media. Who are they? Like, what is that? Like, I don't know anything about that. I don't know if I can, but we're making this media, and then people find themselves engaging with our media, and then suddenly they're talking to me. And the things I have to say, like, a lot of people aren't accustomed to hearing what goes on at those intersections in any frame except a victim frame. And, rightly, people want to be really cautious about a victim frame, because it can take over one's body so that one self-victimizes. And we also have to express ourselves very clearly and forthrightly if there is criminal victimization going on, especially in ways that many people don't realize is going on. And so we've got to speak to that. And at the same time, we've got to bring in these powerful nutrients about what we're celebrating and what we're grateful for and the blessings that are occurring, so that people realize you can go through the worst of the worst, the nightmares that you never thought could ever happen to you. You can go through that, and you can rise to meet it, and you can become stronger and expand your awareness of yourself and your beingness in your community, your regenerative nutritivity. Yes. It's an amazing gift to be able to do that. And how do we introduce people to it? Well, that's what we're doing. Thank you for hanging out with us doing this.
Anytime. Really.
That makes me so happy.
I don't know a lot about you and your story, but you're so radiant. You're not angry. You're not, you're such a warrior.
Sometimes I'm angry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I try to temper it, and we got to keep practicing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not action in the direction towards what you're really looking to create. But I mean, man, I acknowledge you for everything you're doing. Let's face it, a lot of people get broken and they stay that way, and it takes so much to not. So,
yeah,
you're made of something special, sister.
We're doing the thing. We never know if we can do the thing, but we're doing the thing.
You're doing the thing.
And just the more that we stay with one another, Arnold Mindell calls it sitting in the fire. We stay with it, because if we do, what we discover of ourselves is so much more than what we had before. Our experience of being alive is so much deeper. Are you familiar with this TV show Outlander?
No.
you're not familiar with Outlander, I'll tell you a little bit about
Tell
Outlander.
me.
Outlander has been part of some of our conversations recently. It's romance novels. It's romance novels about a woman who travels back in time and falls in love, and she's living in 17th century, 16th, the 1700s in Scotland, and then there's this whole like traveling all over the world kind of thing, and she is flung into intensive, hardcore survival circumstances. And one of the reasons that this show has gotten talked about in the network is because there are torture scenes in it that are the worst torture scenes that we have ever, I mean, those of us talking about it, we've never seen that kind of extremity depicted in a popular TV show that people are so happy about. And that's really serious for us because we're surviving those kinds of traumas on a day-to-day basis. And people they're not responding to what's in front of them, what's happening in your community. You're enjoying this fiction that is depicting really horrible things and really beautiful things, but horrible, horrible things. You're enjoying the fiction, but what about the people next door? What about the people down the street? What about the people right here in the community who are being brutalized? Like, okay, that's kind of hypnosis if we're not careful, right?
Yes.
And Outlander, what I've read of the books and what I've seen of the television show and the way I've talked about it with other people, one of the reasons that people gravitate towards this kind of fiction is because what it's depicting is people rising to the most daunting challenges. Like, we have a platform in the network called Intuitive Social Horror, because we got tired of looking at this whole, there's this horror movie thing and there's this horror novel thing, and like people are delving into that and like experiencing that frisson, like they're like ooh, I got scared, I screamed in the movie theater, whatever. But how are we really rising to the real horrors, the real challenges that are occurring? Who are we in that? And part of the appeal of Outlander, and I think other shows too, other books certainly, is that the body is tuning in and being present with this story and aligning with the desires and the needs and the experiences of the characters, and feeling rising to that challenge. Oh, but that could never happen to me. But oh, if it did, like, what would it feel like to rise to this challenge? And there are aspects in that story, particularly that we've noticed about we're choosing to be there for the people we love. We're choosing to be there for our people, for our family, for our community. And if we don't, we won't survive.
Wow.
And so that's depicted in that. And it's one of the ways that I've been describing it to people, because people who have seen it have a really immediate response to that. It's very interesting. So I don't even know if I recommend it, because the torture scenes I fast forward through them, but even
I wouldn't be able to watch it.
Even fast forwarding through them, it still gets you. But there are reasons that it's been important for me to sort of absorb more of that. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that somebody go and find it because of that, because it is a method of hypnosis.
Yes.
Through popular media.
Yes.
And how do we notice those story elements in our lives now?
Yes. Yeah.
And part of that is you noticing my posts about the head bones. We've been continuing to move my head bones after concussion injuries of the past 10 years. And you decided to start checking on me. And that is one of the most powerful forms of warriorship anybody can engage in. And most people don't know it.
Incredible. And you asked.
Oh, it was so hard to ask.
But you asked, and it's funny. I bet it was, because it's so hard for anyone in the best of times to know what they need, know what they want, and then ask. And look what happened that you asked.
That's gonna make me cry. Thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah. So you got what I met your bravery. or your vulnerability, or whatever the word is.
And
And
it can happen.
I, as much as we want to rang on social media, and yeah, of course, it's all things, it's a spectrum. But why you and I are doing this is because of the very best aspect of it.
Yes. Yes.
Like, I have never felt more connected to people I actually love and feel get me. And I've never met any of you. Like, and I trip out on that sometimes, and I think, is it in my head? I'm like, no, I love these people. It's not, it transcends physical space, and yeah, I mean, I'll be eternally grateful for that. And we
It's
made that happen because we're not using Twitter to like complain about things we don't like across the world. We are using the tool in the best possible way
yeah.
to heal ourselves, to see reflections of who we are coming back at us, and really stepping into that, showing up more as that love that we're getting, sharing our vulnerability, and it just continues to grow and weave into this tapestry of real connection.
Yeah.
It's
It's finding the resonant community body where we have these powerful interests that have broken up all of the relationships. So like essentially the social media and internet communications have been wedged between people in relationship with one another. So they're artificially mediating people's relationships, and
Yeah.
the level of marketing dollars and like this intentional, pretty much across the board predatory influence. I mean, certainly some of the people doing it, some of the groups doing it are not predatory, but the model is predatory.
Yeah.
And this is from my education and training in marketing, which I did for many years, and I am technically also doing now, except it's very different
Yeah.
than I was originally taught. And where I was originally taught was in communities of people practicing the most heart-centered, the most human forms of business and marketing. And even they, all of us, me too, we were still using predatory tactics without understanding that, just because in comparison to what else was out there, it was so much better. So we've had to keep traveling in that direction. But now that people's relationships, people's bonds of community are so deeply intermediated by social media and other technology, controlled by predatory interests, we have to seek out where our true community is. It might not be around us. Everyone's so isolated from one another. And for me, so I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm experiencing, which is very much what many of our network colleagues are experiencing. I have extreme environmental sensitivities, from toxicant-induced loss of tolerance and a list of other conditions, from injuries I incurred because of toxic exposures, and because of my concussion injuries stopping my brain and my body from detoxifying as effectively, and a bunch of other stuff that has compounded with the violence I've been through, so that I haven't been allowed to recover from it. And so most of the time, I am trapped in the house, and I cannot leave to get my own needs met. I can't go to the grocery store to get something for myself. I can barely manage to go to the most important of appointments that might help solve something, because it hits me so hard to just try to do that. And it's very scary. I get re-injured a lot when I try to do things that rehabilitate my body. And me in that circumstance, and our community members in that circumstance, people like us often aren't heard from. There are these huge silos on Facebook, for instance, where people, like if you start searching mold illness, chemical sensitivity, complex chronic illness, environmental illness. There's a zillion more of them. Chronic inflammatory response syndrome is like, we could keep going and going and going. Supposedly rare conditions that actually aren't rare. They just have lots and lots of different monetizable industry labels. So that people are having to pursue based on their label that they've gotten. I got a whole list. I got a really long list of labels. But it keeps them looking for solutions based on how that label is being marketed to them. And they can't necessarily find anything outside that because their disablement is so severe. The injuries are so severe. It destroys people's families. It destroys people's communities. So the silos on Facebook, there are so many people who are in some way connected to our network or don't know our network exists, where we're still working for them because we see them as part of this. They don't get to communicate. They don't get to socialize. They don't get to be heard from. They die alone in dark rooms. And that's very, very common. It's not rare at all, actually. But we have to bring a voice to this, and a major way that we've been able to do it using the intuitive network infrastructure is by leveraging, building relationships on social media so that we can find who will recognize this, who is lucid enough, courageous enough to respond to us if we say something about it. Because a lot of people run from it. It's scary. But when we respond to one another, when we build those relationships on social media, I am alive because of that. Yes. I would not be alive here talking to you if there had not been a key small number of people comparatively who could respond in some way. And so when we're broadcasting Intuitive Public TV, Intuitive Public Radio, what are these keys? What are we discovering? How do we amplify that life energy so that all of us can get our needs met better? Not just the most severely disabled people, but the people slightly less severely disabled and the people slightly less severely disabled, and the just disabled people and the mildly disabled people and the not at all disabled people and the people who are like, I don't know what you're talking about, but my life is going really well. We need all of us in this. We're a collective body here on this planet. So it's magical to get to dialogue with it with someone who can receive and exchange and share and build those nutrients, which we see you doing every day.
It feels good to be seen.
It feels good to be seen. How are we doing? We got to check in with our bodies. How weepy am I? I can get weepier.
I'm always leaking.
It's good. It's helpful detoxification, rebalancing.
Absolutely. You're inspiring a lot of recognition in me of things I'm not sure how to express, but I think a part of why I'm even able to be here with you, and why, again, back to that idea of truth and awareness, like you were saying earlier, like we can't change things we're not aware of. So there needs to be this light in areas where there's just shadow. And I've spent, I was 22 or something when I learned about the Federal Reserve and fiat currency, and I just started digging and digging and digging. And I've spent my whole adult life looking in the darkest corners of this world. And I haven't avoided that exploration or examination. As empathic as I am, and as sensitive as I am, I've been able to look at that stuff and have an awareness that it exists. And understand, and so I like to put it this way, I've been collecting dots for 20, 30 years, let's say. Enough dots that I've got this really pixelated, clear picture of how everything is kind of connected and what's going on. And That isn't to say I understand everything. You know what? You understand what I'm saying. But what that's given me is this new place that I'm at, which isn't Pollyanna. I'm not in denial of anything that's dark. I know there's dark shit, and I can talk about that. And but I've transmuted it in a way where now I know that I think is what infuses my music with something that people can connect to, because
Yeah.
it's not surface shit. Like I get it. I haven't experienced it, but I'm not in denial of it. And yeah,
It takes something, there's something there's something that some of us have that allows us to look and allows us to overcome that. Well, I really do think it is programming that everybody's exposed to our whole lives on this planet. We've all been exposed to
from
something
day one.
like that.
Yeah.
That dissuades people from looking at it. And it's not even a character deficit, it's literally disablement. When you look at how programming works, how predatory programming works, what it is relational neurological injury.
Yeah.
And when people collapse in the face of that, I don't want to say sweepingly across the board, definitely. Maybe somebody can bring me a case that is different, possibly, but pretty much everything that I have seen of people not being able to respond to this has been because they just didn't quite have the resourcing or the clarity or the self-possession or the sense of cosmic support from a family or community or from the universe. Like, how much contact do we have with ourselves versus what is trying to run us? And it's what is trying to run us, this ephemeral abuser personage. You know, there are lots of individual people doing criminal damage to others because they have also been criminally damaged.
Yes.
But you also have like the collective, like the, how do we say, oversoul, or the egregore, the energy of there's this thing abusing us and doesn't want us to be able to recognize that it's traumatizing us, because if we don't recognize that, it can control us through the trauma. Yes. We'll forget. And there's so many layers of that coming at everybody all the time.
Yes.
People whose lives look amazing and perfect. Maybe especially them sometimes. People who are doing really, really well, they don't necessarily notice what those influences are and how they can be driven by them. So that if we all come together in dialogue and make space for one another and sit in the fire of one another's experiences and recognize the gifts that we all bring to that, we can see this in ways we couldn't before. And it's such a blessing. I don't know why I was able to see the things I was able to see as I've come through this, but if I hadn't, I would absolutely not be here. And I wouldn't know the amazing people that I know now because of that. And for you to, whatever combination it's been for you that has allowed you to look and to overcome the ambient programming that tells us don't look, don't think about it, don't bother yourself with that, do this instead.
Yeah.
It's expanding beyond the control container.
Yeah.
It's being a real vibrant living self as part of the vibrant living collective self. That's sacred. That's amazing. And we can all do it. Anybody listening to this is going to be getting nutrients that help them do that more and better. And that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There are so many things I want to ask you. There are so many things I want to tell you about. It's just like this.
Why don't we do this regularly. Because here's the thing.
I love that you say that. It makes me so happy.
Great. I am thrilled that it does. Because I gotta say, like, I don't have, well, I don't, I'm figuring out ways to be of service. You know, I mean, I write songs. I I am happy to find a way to be in the world where I'm actually connecting and contributing. Um, and I've designed my life in such a way because I am such a weirdo. I can't work normal jobs. I can't do a 9 to 5. I don't want to commute on a bus. Like, I don't live that way. And I'm not judging anyone who does. It's just not me. So I have designed my life to be able to work. My time is my own. It's how I like it. So I'm here. I wake up and my day is open and I fill it the way I want to fill it.
Yeah.
So I have time, I have the flexibility and I have the availability to be here when you want to do these. It just so happens that I can say yes.
That's made of such utter magic. And part of the magic of it, and I want people to really notice this, what you described is like you described a vocational energy that's right for you. That's how you need to work.
Yeah.
You have exercised choicefulness, and you have the circumstances you have, the life experiences you have that have taken you to a place where you say, I structure my life this way because that's what I want. I can't do this. I can do this. This is what strengthens me. This is what I want to lean toward. This is the kind of work I want to do and the way that I want to work. And the way that you talk about that, and I've heard you talk about that before too.
Yeah.
It's a really important set of anchors for people who have been forced into predatory victimization in such ways that they no longer have a choice, but they often think they cannot do any work at all because what you just described has never been presented as a choice that anybody could have. They think, but if I can't do it the way other people are describing, I can't have any job at all. And it's not just the devastation of not being able to access income. It's horrific what happens to people when they're excluded from economic participation. But it's that people lose the vocational spark that fuels the life energy, the expression of self. Who do I want to be in the world? What do I want to build?
Yeah.
How do I want to manifest? Like, who do I want to help? Like, what do I want this to look like? People lose that and they die when they lose that.
Yes.
They deteriorate really fast, losing that. So your way of describing that is so important because all of us in recovery from such severe circumstances, we need to hear people we know who have expressed care about us, actually us. We need to hear those people saying that, well, this is a choice that people make. This is a choice that I have made. And I kind of have made a lot of those choices, but I've also been forced into a bunch of situations that we haven't quite sorted out. But I'm gradually regaining my own personal sense of, here is my choicefulness. Here is I'm choosing, and we have to do that because if we don't, like we talked about before, we just get driven around, and we can't survive it. You can't survive it. We can't survive it.
And absolutely, agency is what makes us human.
Yeah,
it's you're either an automaton, and no thoughts are your own. Therefore, no emotions are your own. Therefore, no actions are your own. Mm-hmm. Or I want this, and it is amazing because the programming is so smart in that that's what it takes away. It takes away our connection to our agency and our ability to even commune with ourselves to know what it is we want. It starts there.
So
who am I? What are my inclinations? What do I love? How do I feel the best?
Yeah.
Okay, well, how do I act in the direction of that, having more of that?
Hmm.
And it's the simplest thing because that's how we start out. That's how children act. I mean, but it's the erosion of this through exposure to the messaging that wants us dependent on the external.
Yeah.
And
They've got that big messaging all
yeah,
around us everywhere.
everywhere.
And we've got this big messaging
Yeah,
right here.
yeah,
This is ours, and we keep building it so that we have that ambient influence with people like you saying things like that over and over and over and over again. Get rid of the programming. We can be our own true selves. We each decide who that is and what that feels like.
yeah. Yes, yes. It's what I write about. It's what my songs are about. There's no bigger message than that. Because to me, again, that is the antidote. That's the cure, not a band-aid. Like I'm not into band-aids. Let's go to
Dude, band-aids, you put a band-aid, another band-aid, another band-aid. Band-aids get gross.
and then you need a band-aid for the problem that band-aid created. It's like, yeah, let's get off this hamster wheel. Let's start looking at causes and cures.
No more hamster wheels full of band-aids.
None. No.
It's a hazard.
So, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and it is amazing to watch how, I've happily reached a stage in my life where I can observe more and then react to stuff that I don't like seeing. I'm more of a neutral observer than I've ever been, which is lovely. Because I mean, the one thing we haven't really talked about, which we can certainly talk about now or another time, it doesn't matter to me. This is ongoing as far as I'm concerned, but is the importance of frequency. And I think the beautiful thing is that once someone gets that, and my very first piece on Substack was about goosebumps, because it's an indicator of a truth. I don't like using that word so much anymore, but it's an access point to give you more of what you really are.
Yeah.
It's a sign saying, go this way. Don't go that way where you're not feeling them. Go this way where you are, because then you're just going to become more of what you really are here. It's you in your spirit form, and the minute, and it doesn't take much that if you just take one step in the direction of you choosing, your frequency brings more of that access to you, more opportunities to access more of your agency.
Yes.
And it just becomes momentum in that direction. And it's such a gift to learn that and have that tool in your pocket, or that understanding that you can then play with your frequencies and notice them more, and notice where you're resisting, and notice where you're doing the same choice over and over, and notice where you need to break free and how good that felt and how enlivening it is to make a new choice. But what I love is it doesn't take very much.
A very little bit of a decision
Yeah.
in a direction can unfold amazing things. And that resonance indicator, and it might be goosebumps, and it might we notice sudden surges of emotion can be very we think about I do this a lot, and I learned it from others, where there's a particular surge of emotion that I'm not sure what it's connected to, and I feel my ancestors are here with me. It's a resonance indicator, and I think of goosebumps that way.
Yes.
Like what are these signals that can help us be more choiceful in the ways that deepen our trueness of self.
Our sense of self. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
But I don't want to go. Want to make music? Yeah, you have a piano right there in front of you.
Wasn't
My
the piano the best?
that grand piano had to go away because it was falling apart. It was gonna fall on somebody. Was what it was gonna do. It had to leave. I was very sad. I took a lot of pictures. I played it a few more times, and now we're seeking out how. I don't know how. I don't know how we've done any of this, but somehow there will be another piano. But it's awesome that you have one right there.
Well, it's
I don't know.
keyboard.
We could improvise back and forth, or you could play something of yours. I would be. I mean, whatever we do, like, I don't know, play something. I'll sing something.
Well, I can.
You might have a piece that you feel moved about, and I will put you on the full screen if you want to do that. What should we do? It's an experiment.
It is an experiment.
I'm rehabbing singing in a way that's super scary for me. The idea of making music together with others has been driving me for years. And so we do some of it on Telegram. We have these ways that we make music together on Telegram.
Really?
I'll show you some of it. It's pretty wacky. It's stitched together from impossible circumstances. But yeah, we have a lot of ways to do it, like sort of go back and forth if the thing would, if it would do a feedback thing. We share files sometimes, little bits, like whatever we can do. We make up songs together a lot.
I love that you do that.
Do you like making up songs?
Like on the spot?
You've made up a lot of amazing songs. Well, I don't know. On the I mean, what is on the spot? Well, I mean, you're here.
You mean like right here, or you just kind of start riffing?
That's what we do. Well, because we've had to show up. We started Intuitive Public Radio because I was dying in a bathtub and I had to broadcast. That's why Intuitive Public Radio exists, because I had to tell people what was going on publicly from the place where I was dying in a bathtub. That's
wow.
why this exists. So I've had to do a lot in public that other people don't think about in public. So improvising in public, typically me without remembering what I'm doing. That's what I do.
Wow.
But I don't want to put you on the spot in that way unless you feel wholeheartedly strengthened by it. I'm good with however this unfolds.
Why don't we make a point of doing that on the next one?
Sure.
Can we do that?
Yes.
Yeah?
Absolutely. That's amazing. I'll really look forward to that.
That way there is a next one. We are definitely doing more of these.
Yes, we are definitely doing more of this. If you feel inclined to play one of your pieces and sing one of your pieces, I'm delighted, or anything else that you feel moved to.
Well, I can play a little bit of a song I'm working on. Yeah. Actually, I got to finish this song. It's taken me forever. You know what it is with this song? I love it so much that I want to make the lyrics. I never want to compromise on my lyrics, and these ones are just taking a little bit of time. So that's just what happens. You just gotta let it happen as it happens. Okay, I'll do a little bit of this one.
All right.
Okay, you're so sweet. How's the sound of everything?
I think it's great.
Okay. Forgot how it went. Okay, now I remember. Born of the Father, King of the Sun, and made of the Mother, Queen of the Moon. Ooh, we search and we search for answers. Well, one day they decided split us all up, and now we're falling to pieces, forgetting we're one. We search and we search.
turning our metal into gold. As within, so without. When you're an immortal soul, you're an immortal soul. Well, it's a world of illusion, distraction and fear, where what you believe in is what becomes real. Magic's always in season. We reap what we sow. If we want a good harvest, plant what will grow. Plant what you want to grow. As above, so below. Turning our metal into gold. As within, so without. When you're an immortal soul, when you're an immortal soul.
That's all I have so far.
You're making me cry.
Oh,
In the best way. Thank you for doing that. And I didn't warn you or anything. I did. I mean, I don't know. You showed up with the piano.
I'm happy to learn how to say yes.
We're all learning.
You gave me an opportunity just to say yes instead of no. And look at me. I tried to get out of it. See what I mean? See how my automaton habit is the no, the hiding. I'm not ready. It's not good enough. And I make mistakes. It's fine. It is what it is. I got it. It's saying yes is the success.
Look what it is for us to be human together. Look what it is for us to be living creatures in the presence of one another. That's the most amazing thing. And it gets wiped out if we don't keep practicing it. Thank you for practicing it with me and us.
Oh, yeah.
It's time to wrap it up.
Hug. I'm sending you such a big hug. Yeah.
I mean, I want to do this again as soon as possible. I'll do spontaneous live streams. You really activate a tremendous energy for me when I really mean what I said before, functions gone, not able to take care of the self, not able to get basic survival needs met. Relationship restores function, and you have been restoring a lot of function for me. So there are a lot of things that I can suddenly spontaneously do unpredictably, but more.
Wow.
Than otherwise. So thank you. Oh. Let's keep modeling this so that more people will do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'm honored.
I want to tell people your links here. In addition to the YouTube channel that I've got scrolling at the bottom of the screen. I remember to do that. Jacqueline Rendell on
Fancy
YouTube.
schmancy.
Fancy schmancy. We also have www.intuitivepublicradio.network/T, it's a tag, /Jacqueline Rendell. So we have a tag we have started for it's going to be a lot more posts. So then there will be a list of them. So we'll have that there. You are at postmodern.substack.com.
Yeah.
And postmoderncast on Telegram. Is that right?
Yeah, it's kind of defunct. I don't really use it so much anymore, but it has a really nice history of really beautiful things if anyone wants to go there and check it out. So,
And
yeah.
are there any other, do you want to highlight any other URLs?
No, that's it for now.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's amazing actually because I feel like this, now that I think about it, this is what I also mean by postmodern. You know, it's the objective in the subjective, and it's connection. The connection is real. The goosebumps are real. The love is real. So that's why I labeled my channel that. It's what comes next after this crap that's dying away. We're all remembering who we are.
Yes, we're expanding. We're deepening our roots in the most organic and nutritive and emergent way. We're finding out who we are and how we flourish.
Yes. Yes. Amazing. Oh.
All right.
All right,
We will
sister.
wrap this stream. What an amazing, it's an amazing accomplishment for me. Thank you for helping this to happen. I hope everybody will visit Jacqueline's links. We're going to keep posting them. Everybody can feel free to join us at t.me/community IPR, which is our chat on Telegram, or find us on Substack. And you can ask, where was that link? What was that thing that Jacqueline mentioned? How do we find her this? How do we find her podcast? How do we find her Substack? How do we find her music? We will help you find it.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yep.
And, join us again for Intuitive Public TV sometime in the great intuitive unknown future that is unfolding now. All right.
All right. Sending you love.
Blessings, sister. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to hit the button.
Okay. Bye.